Our family has gone through a very difficult time. My husband and I have taken the brunt of it. I've never known what it truly felt like to be so sad and desperate inside. Hale had answered when the President of the United States can't go to a city of the United States and be protected, we've come to a very difficult time in our nation's history, and encouraged him to come. Sometimes people have a difficult time understanding my English. A man's brain has a more difficult time shifting from thinking to feeling than a woman's brain does. Nothing bores me more than books where you read 2 pages and you know exactly how it's going to come out. I want twists and turns that surprise me, characters that have a difficult time and that I don't know if they're going to live or die. Black people were very angry with me for writing the book. A lot of people didn't believe me, or didn't want to believe me, and that used to really bother me. It was a very painful and difficult time. The war years were the most difficult time of my life. There was real famine in Moscow. The water froze inside the houses. There was no heat. When I am writing best, I really am lost in my world. I lose track of the outside world. I have a difficult time balancing between my real world and the artificial world. If you aren't good at loving yourself, you will have a difficult time loving anyone, since you'll resent the time and energy you give another person that you aren't even giving to yourself. I love the tour bunks. I can sleep like a baby in those bunks. It really doesn't bother me at all. A lot of people have a difficult time. They're like, it's like a coffin. I get in there and I just pass out. You can't even wake me up. I had a difficult time hearing my own inner voice about what I wanted to be in this life, because there were all these perfect examples of what a man actually does. The notion is that he goes to college, gets married and provides. That's what a man does. I think it is important to pass on the message to young people who are going through a difficult time with friends that it will pass. I have a very difficult time getting the Napster world. Most female actresses will have a very difficult time being made unattractive. I'll always remember when I bumped into Good Morning America's Robin Roberts on a flight to my mother's funeral in 1994, and how kind she was during that difficult time. I've always had a really difficult time with loss. In high school, I had a really difficult time just loving myself. It's weird, I feel like in the world we live in today, you're not supposed to be like, I'm beautiful, like that's a conceited thing to say. Most single people I know, myself included, have a difficult time even meeting up with the people they like, be it busy schedules, texting games, or whatever. I have a very difficult time describing my music, because I run into people in the hardware store and they go, "Oh, you're a musician. So what kind of music do you play?" And I go, I've been doing this for many years, I don't know what to call it. Detroit is a city that really stands out. It's been through a very difficult time. There's been a lot of pain here, and the city, physically, has suffered. You can see it in certain neighborhoods, and there's buildings downtown that have been abandoned. I have a very difficult time describing my music. In cricket, my superhero is Sachin Tendulkar. He has always been my hero and will continue to remain so. Apart from him and outside cricket, my mother has remained my inspiration. Whatever difficult time I had faced, she was always there for me. She has given me all the strength. She maintained her composure and supported me in tough times. Society historically has a difficult time with the concept of something new and foreign that shakes up our comfortable views, especially if it involves the very volatile question of sexual identity. It was a very difficult time, 1984. Happy Days ended. I said, there's no way I can be a producer. My attorney said, you'll learn. The first thing we sold was the MacGyver television series. We shot 139 episodes between 1985 and 1992. Young people experiencing homelessness often have a difficult time accessing services, including shelter, medical care, and employment. This is due to the stigma of their housing situation, lack of knowledge of available resources, and a lack of services targeted to young people. People say I've had a difficult time in life. I think I've had an exciting time in life. I think the time I spent at Aston Villa was difficult. It was a difficult time and a difficult moment for the team. Some people have a difficult time facing truth and reality. They prefer to live in a make-believe world, pretending that certain things aren't happening. I have a difficult time sitting down for long periods. I have a difficult time doing an Irish accent. Even now, it kind of fades slowly into Scottish. The first year was hard for me to deal with. The second year was a little bit easier, but still difficult. It took me 5 years to get it out of me. It was a difficult moment, a difficult time. I'm more than open to hope, but I think men and women have a difficult time dealing with each other and often take the low road. I used to be terribly shy, so I was either shy or over the top, and I always had a difficult time. I think that he was a prophet. I've had a difficult time coming to terms with Jesus Christ as the Son of God. When I arrived in America, I experienced serious culture shock. For someone with a religious upbringing, the 1960s were an extremely difficult time. Even though religion was a big part of the civil rights and peace movements, in my college religion was treated as irrelevant, hopelessly stodgy, and behind the times. This is really a difficult time to be in films. There's the tradition of the 19th century ballets, and the 20th century has had a difficult time with that tradition. And it's had a difficult time with many components of the romantic imagination because of modernism. No one ever said learning was to be easy, but it's part of the process of evolving as a human being, and we all have to go through it. When I look back, I see that each difficult time brought an important lesson, and I prefer to look at it with gratitude because I wouldn't be who I am today if I haven't gone through it all. The music industry is an interesting lens through which to look at change, because it has had such a difficult time adjusting to the digital age. I have a really difficult time watching myself on film. I literally cower in my seat and cover my face. Those first few overs are obviously the most difficult time because you don't know what the ball is going to do in the air and off the seam. I have had a very difficult time with stage fright. It undermines your well-being and peace of mind, and it can also threaten your livelihood. Actually, the most difficult time I had was not in the mask. The first time you see Michael Myers, he doesn't have his mask yet, and he's jumping onto the back of a car from the insane asylum. Everyone, particularly my female friends I speak to, all say, I wouldn't be in my 20s again if I was paid. It's a difficult time. People were more interested in the phenomena than the art itself. This, combined with the growing interest in collecting art as an investment and the resultant boom in the art market, made it a difficult time for a young artist to remain sincere without becoming cynical. Al-Qaeda is on the run, partly because the United States is in Afghanistan, pushing on Al-Qaeda, and working internationally to cut off the flow of funds to Al-Qaeda. They are having a difficult time. They failed in this endeavor. People doing the kind of sound research that I'm interested in still have a difficult time. Here's the thing, I did one episode of Deep Space Nine, and I loved everybody that I worked with. People couldn't have been kinder. But I had a really, really difficult time with the prosthetics. I like myself a lot more than I used to. I had a very difficult time in my 20s especially. It was hard for me to look in the mirror and find something that I liked about myself. The late 80s was quite a difficult time for me as an artist because I'd almost become a parody of myself. All people wanted was pink hair and for me to sing, I Want to Be Free. There's nothing wrong with either of those, but people need to see you as a person for you to be an artist. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.